Ora Sanibonani, Molweni, how's it? Salute, hola, heita. How you guys doing in your corner of the world? Happy Heritage Day to all South Africans, no matter where you are. So today, I'd like to just touch base with some colored history. Reason for doing that is I'm only half colored. My father is Greek, so I have a strong sense of my history as a Greek woman, but many colored children lack a sense of their own history and have never been taught about their own colored heroes. And I can see how that severely affects their self esteem. Now, the good news is you can't tell colored history without telling black history. You can't tell colored history without telling white history. You can't tell colored history without telling Indian history. You can't tell colored history without telling Khoisan history. So the history of colored people encompasses the whole of South Africa because we can't be divorced from that. Okay, so I'm not going to be doing a long video. I'm just going to give you suggestions of my favorite colored heroes off the top of my head. I think number one would have to be Krotoa. Krotoa was a diplomat from the time that she was 10 years old. She is the mother of the colored people and has also been called the mother of South Africa, as so many people have been born from her. She was also the mother of the Afrikaans language. This is because people of all races are her descendants, but she was the first legally recognized interracial relationship in this country and the first Khoisan person to decide to be baptized, the first official baptism, right? But she is deeply tied in my mind with Louis van Mauritius, okay, South Africa's first freedom fighter who was brought enslaved to South Africa at the age of 3. Now, of course, when I talk about colored heroes, you can't be mixed race without having monoracial ancestors. So when I refer to people as colored here, it is even if they weren't colored at the time, but the majority of their descendants or their would-be descendants today are colored. Verstaan julle vir my? Cool, I know South Africans get me. Louis van Mauritius was our first freedom fighter. When 2 Irish men came to the restaurant he was working at in the Cape, they told him that Haiti was free. And as such, he and those oaks started a plot to free of as many of the enslaved in our country as they could. Unfortunately, he and many people lost their lives, but his sacrifice started the conversation of freedom in South Africa. So rest in peace, Louis van Mauritius, and thank you so much. Another man who never got a chance to have children, but if he did, it would have been my ancestor, is Masavana. You can find documentaries of him here. I'll put a link in the description. Masavana was a Madagascan wealthy man who was sold out and brought to South Africa to be enslaved. But if you look for the documentary Slave Ship Mutiny, he and his buddies took over the ship that was supposed to enslave them. And had it not been for facts stranger than fiction, when the people, the Dutch that were stuck down in the cabin over there downstairs had put a letter in the bottle and it was found. That is how they were able to recapture people like Masavana. The Van Riebeck and his likes weren't sure what to do with Masavana, so they put him on Robben Island until further notice, and he now lies there in an unmarked grave. So rest in peace, Masavana. The other people that I would like to thank are our stammoeders. Please give me a second while I get their names. I know that there's an Angela and there's an Anna. Okay, I've got some names to read to you. Of course, it's very important to speak the names of the enslaved who came to the Cape and now their descendants are colored people, because when they came here to the Cape, they would lose their surnames immediately and they would be named after the month that they came here, which is why so many colored people have surnames like September, October, July, January. Okay? So it's important to say their names. Some of the stammoeders, the matriarchs, are Eva and Jan van Brein. We've also got Katharina van Bengala. We've also got the twee Marias, 2 people called Maria. We've got Cornelia and Elizabeth and Klein Eva. We've also got Angela from Bengala, which I mentioned before. We've got Anna de Koning. And that is all that I can find at the moment. Many of these women, although they were born into slavery, they were set free in a way when they got married, but they would be left their husbands' farms, and many of them would go on to make those farms more successful. than they had been when these women were enslaved. So I'm assuming that one of the Marias is actually Zwarte Maria, which means Black Maria. And she's one of those people who got her freedom, and she was able to make her farm more successful. Once again, I do intend in the coming years to put more information here. And of course, at this time, I would like to remember one more enslaved person. Abraham van Batavia. Abraham van Batavia was the first enslaved person here in South Africa, and he was brought here because he was actually trying to escape. Had he gone to the Netherlands, he would have been free. So on the way to the Netherlands, he got stuck here, and he was enslaved. He was a stowaway of a ship. Some other notable examples of colored heroes. Our first legal veterinarian in South Africa was a man who was a Xhosa Scot. Xhosas and Scots used to marry a lot. So our first legal veterinarian in this country was also a mixture of Xhosa and Scottish, governor of the Cape. As we know, South African history previously had a bit of a whitewashing. But in many of our historical figures who were classified white at the time, in their history, there are people of all races. Okay? As this time, I also want to remember all the nameless and faceless people and the Khoisan people who had, their land taken, the nameless and faceless people who were brought to South Africa enslaved. The majority of them were women. There were 2 women to 1 man, and the majority of them were also children, as they preferred children. It was part of the psychological thing they would do when they would be outnumbered by the enslaved. They took children. So basically, other than that, I've got a video of Anton Fransch, Ashley Creel, and I also want to remember the Bonte-Hevel students who were the most feared by the apartheid government. So that's basically all I can think of today. Have a happy Heritage Day, everybody. Bye.